Howdy everyone, time for another review, and it's going to be a cinema review and The Amazing Spider-Man. I had such high expectations for this film. I was looking forward to this a lot more than The Dark Knight. Spider-Man's my favourite superhero. So, did it live up to my expectations? Hell yes. But this film is not without its faults. It's slightly overlong at 2 hours and a quarter, and it all feels very familiar. If you've seen the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, then you know what to expect, even though it's supposedly the untold story. But this film has a brilliant cast and some absolutely fantastic action scenes, which make it a summer blockbuster that you definitely want to check out. I don't really feel I have to explain the story of Spider-Man. In case you don't know, it's about Peter Parker, a college student who gets bitten by a spider, gets superpowers and protects people in New York City. And that's fine. It spends about 45 minutes getting you into the story, and it's very similar stuff. But what else could they do? People are moaning, saying it feels too samey, and I agree, maybe it didn't have to be made, this film, but it is at all times entertaining, and it throws a few new twists in there into the story. The other part to the story, which won't feel familiar to everyone, is Peter trying to solve the mystery of his parents' disappearance and how they died when he was young. Now, I don't think it deserved a whole film, this story. I mean, this is the reason this film was made, to tell this untold story. And I don't think it needed to be told, really. It's interesting enough. I was just happy to see that another Spider-Man film was made, but I can completely understand why people are saying that this film and this story really didn't need to be told. After about 45 minutes, that feeling of similarity goes and it becomes less predictable. All the cast in this film are great. It's probably one of the film's strongest points, but I'm really only going to talk about Andrew Garfield. In case you didn't know, he is the new Peter Parker and the new Spider-Man, and he fits into the role perfectly. He makes this role his own. He's still the nerdy college student, but he's also quite cool as well. He's charming, he's very likeable, and he's some kind of skater boy. He always carries a skateboard around with him, and I thought he was really cool. He's a more modern day Peter Parker in my opinion. Just quickly, Emma Stone was brilliant as well. I thought she was great because she wasn't just a character just thrown in to say, oh yeah, that's Peter Parker's girlfriend. She served an important part in the plot. In fact, all the characters did. They all had great chemistry. They all worked very well in this film. Each one of them served a purpose to the plot, unlike a lot of superhero films nowadays that just randomly put characters in there just to be faithful to its comic book source material. The new Spider-Man looks really cool. I like the new suit. I liked how they kept the acrobatic combat style, which is a big part of this film. Fights are the main form of action in this film. I always like the fights in Spider-Man films. I think they're very playful and they're always very creative with the set pieces, and this one is no exception. Spider-Man looks brilliant in this film when he's fighting. He looks very stylish. He uses a lot of acrobatics. For instance, in the fight with the Lizard, I mean there's about 3 of them in it and they're all really well done, but there's one in a school. And this fight is so well shot. Spider-Man's crawling all over the place and the Lizard's chasing him, and yeah, the camera's moving really fast, but it's always keeping up with the action, and this just adds so much excitement. That fight in the school also shows the cameo from Stan Lee, and while I thought it was a bit goofy, I did enjoy it. I thought it was quite funny. It's not too long, but it was a nice little cameo. It was funny enough. One thing that really stood out for me in the film, and you're probably going to laugh at this, is how Spider-Man's movements all looked really spider-like. I can't believe I just said that. You're probably wetting yourself now, but maybe I said that a bit wrong. But after you've seen it, you will know what I mean. Just hear me out. In Sam Raimi's Spider-Man's, it was all about CGI. When he was crawling on walls, when he was web swinging, it was all done with CGI. And it looked fluid, and when I look back now, I can really tell that's CGI. Because after watching this, and it is an actual stuntman doing all the swinging, all the crawling and stuff, and it means that his movements look a lot more rigid and a lot more crooked and spider-like. Just watch it and you'll see what I mean. I thought that was a really nice touch. Like I said, they got an actual guy doing the web swinging this time, and I thought that was necessary because it would just look very samey if not. The story of the film feels similar enough without making the action feel samey. So when he's doing all the web swinging, they get some really cool point of view shots as well, which you've probably seen in the trailer. And these are quite fluid throughout the film, and they add a nice bit of excitement to the web swinging. I appreciated how playful Spider-Man was with his powers at first. And I thought this had realism to it. It wasn't just like, oh, I've got my powers, I'm going to go out and save a load of people. He messed about with them, which added a lot of comedy to the film. He used it against the bullies that have bullied him. And, you know, that's what you would do if you were a teenager. It's just an interesting thing. I don't think Sam Raimi really covered that too much in his, so I appreciated that a lot. Comedy is great in this film as well. Yeah, there's some physical comedy of him using his powers to embarrass people, but there's also a lot of wittiness to it. He's very witty as Spider-Man. Like that bit you see in the trailer where he's like, no, you found my weakness, tiny little knives, you know. It's all very funny. There's one really great scene I found where he's laid on his web waiting for the bad guy to show up, and he's just on his Android phone playing a Bubble Pop game or something. I just thought that was great. Really nice touch. I can't honestly say I have too much negative to say about this film. The bad guy wasn't keen on Dr. Connors in my opinion. I think my main problem with him was he was a bit boring. Yeah, Dr. Connors seemed like a nice guy, but there was nothing stand out about him. He wasn't too interested. And then even when he turned into this enormous green rage monster lizard, that was all he was, just a rage monster. He was very limited, didn't have much about him. He just ran around the city causing carnage, that was it. So he wasn't too inspired as a bad guy, but it doesn't lessen the film too much. It's still fine, and he's still a fairly decent bad guy. A lot of people have been complaining about the CGI on the lizard. I had no problems with it. I thought it looked fine. Yeah, it was obvious it was CGI, but for fuck's sake, it is CGI. Of course it's obvious. Any CGI is obvious, so there's nothing wrong with him, honestly. The only other problem I had with this film was it was slightly too long. There were some scenes of dialogue that didn't really need to be in there, felt a bit boring. But the main thing is the pace for the first 45 to 50 minutes was quite slow, and due to this feeling of similarity as well, it could bore quite a few people, because if you can predict exactly what's coming and it's not done in a new way, then, you know, you're not going to be fairly entertained. But if you can get past that, the next hour and 20 minutes maybe is just pure Spider-Man action, and it's brilliant. So, if you can get past that feeling of similarity, which I could easily, it's always entertaining, then you are going to have a great time with this film, honestly. Some of the best action scenes of the year so far, fantastically shot, really entertaining and funny throughout, so what are you waiting for? Go see it now, it's brilliant. This film is going to get 4 Dans. 4 Dan's face coming your way quickly. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed my review. Please go see this. I love Spider-Man. And I'm also going to be doing a recap of the Sam Raimi trilogy. So, I'll be doing reviews of them. And I'm also going to review the video game as well. I don't know what's wrong with me at the moment. I'm like an 11-year-old kid going through a Spider-Man obsession. I'm nearly 20 for fuck's sake. But anyway, see you next time. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe. Please like my video. See you next time.